Um, I used to draw my own amateur comic strips, and when I was in high school, had a comic strip in the weekly newspaper. Shoot, in the early '60s, I became a real. I was always an Edgar Rice Burroughs fan because my folks had all the Tarzan books and some of the Mars books. But in the '60s, I discovered Burroughs fandom. At about the same time that Russ Manning was allowed to sign his comic book work, and I'd loved his work but didn't know what his name was. Then I read in the fanzine that he was a Burroughs fan. And I automatically assumed that at the World Science Fiction Convention in 1964, he would be there. Another fan named Dale Broadhurst in Idaho and I got permission from Hulbert Burroughs to do a comic book version of Edgar Rice Burroughs' The Wizard of Venus. I mean, I look at it and God, what crude crap. But I mean, it's a couple of kids, an aspiring writer and an aspiring cartoonist. And we brought the thing to the Worldcon in Oakland, '64. Of course, Russ didn't show up, but Camille Casdessu Jr., who published Herbdom, after the Oakland show, went down to the Los Angeles area, down to Orange County and Majestic Canyon where Russ was, and visited him and mentioned me. Kaz wrote me and he says, send him some samples. So I did up some pages aping his look, which at the time I thought this is right on, but of course it wasn't. But Russ answered me 3 months later, and he made the mistake of saying, if I ever needed an assistant, you would be perfect for the job. So I was working in a sign company. I was a silk screen delineator. I told the sign company that we were going to take a 1-month vacation. Well, I put half of our belongings in storage, put the other half in a rental trailer, and I moved to Santa Ana, California, and showed up at Russ's back door. And bless his heart, he said, okay, I can give you some work.
When you started with Russ, were you inking or drawing or?
He would give me, the first thing I worked on was the Aliens 4-page backup story in Magnus Robot Fighter number 12. I inked all of the aliens in that story.
Okay.
From that point on, I would get a page of art that was like 50% inked, and what wasn't inked was 50% Tide pencils. So a combination of things. So when you saw the finished page, after a while, I didn't even know what I did on it. And of course, he said, I'll pay you $4 a page. This is 1965. But what he meant was, if I did enough panels that equaled 6 panels, that would be 1 page. So by day, I was credit manager and salesman at Sherwin-Williams Paint. And evenings and weekends, I was assisting Russ Manning. And at about that time, his Tarzan comic books were so popular that Western Publishing wanted more work from Russ. And he said, the only way that I can give you more work is with Mike's help. But there's not enough that it would pay him a living wage. So they called me and they said, would you like some work? So my whole career is luck.